What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Reptastic Adventures. Now, I might be in shorts and short sleeves, but fall's among us. We're now in early November, and because of that, all the animals, all the turtles, the tortoises that are in the backyard are kind of starting to hunker down a little bit. And I am going to today take you around my entire backyard and show you the different species that are outside and staying outside for the entire winter. Now, I'm probably going to be able to point them out if I can't pick them up, just because a lot of them are probably in the water. Some of them I don't want to disturb, but I thought it would be a great time to show you all the species that are kept outside here in New Jersey. Right at my feet is a North American wood turtle. Now, the North American wood turtle is native to the northeastern part of the United States, all the way out to the Great Lakes. And this is arguably one of the smartest reptiles. This is an adult male. It has a concave plastron here. You can see by this thick tail. And the concave plastron is used to help breeding. But a very, very cool and unique species. Some of them range in different colors from yellow to orange and red, depending on geographical location. You start to see the ones in the Midwest that are more yellow. But this is an adult male. And this guy is in this enclosure, which is huge. This stream is 70 feet long, from that end of the enclosure all the way down, including this little pond right here. Now, these turtles will brumate in the water and also on land. I have actually seen them burrow in leaf piles and get down under there. Every turtle, I guess, has its own preference, but this guy's really anxious to get down. It's a sunny day, and he probably just wants to chill and absorb all that vitamin D. So I'm gonna put this guy down right here and let him get back to it. Follow me, I'm gonna go around over this way. Now, I do have Blandings turtles that are in here as well, and here's one right here, who apparently has leeches. And typically this time of year is when they really start to get them, because they're in the water a little bit more often. They're not able to bask as much as the temperatures drop. But even though Blandings like the colder weather, they're still in the water more, and because of that, when they get out to bask is typically when the leeches will come off. But because of them being saturated in the water all the time, the leeches, especially with all the leaf litter at the bottom, they're going into reproductive mode. They're going to start putting babies on these guys, and they're really getting into that time of year. So we just have to check the turtles. We walk around a lot and look at the turtles that are on land and remove the leeches when we find them. But this turtle, other than that, is pretty fat and healthy. She's got some good weight to her. Hopefully next year she lays some fertile eggs. We've had some issues with fertility lately with the Blandings, and I think that's just because the males I have in here are young and they just need a little bit more time. And I think we're getting to that point. I forget how many males are in this enclosure itself, but I think there's like 6, and I think 4 of them are ready to go. So they should be knocking out these girls pretty good, knocking them up, getting some eggs next year. Walking around here. Over here, I've shown in other videos my pancake enclosure. I brought those in. They're not out for right now. So look, there's another North American wood turtle. That's a female, and she is just loving the sun. There's another one under there. It's a male. Here we go. Here's another male. Nice, beautiful turtle. One of my favorite species. And for those of you that don't know, I wrote a book on the North American wood turtle called Old Red Legs. Now, I wrote that book almost 20 years ago. I think it was 2006, and it was published in 2007. And it gives you a lot of good information in terms of how to captive breed them, how to house them, a little bit of stuff in the wild on them. I've raised a ton of these babies, and there's some of them that are actually in this enclosure right now as adults that I've had since babies. So they've grown really quickly out here, and now they're breeding for me, which is great. But over here, I got this log. Well, since we're over here, this is Dalmatian Herman's tortoises. which they're probably not in the greenhouse. I see there's greens in there. I bet money they're underneath this log right here. Here we go. Dalmatian Hermans, guys. There's a little male starting to come out. Get a little bit of sun. Put you all in the sun, guys. But they go underneath that log at night. I tend to stuff leaf litter in things underneath the logs, so it can help keep them a little bit more insulated. It's more to prevent drafts. We have these are regular Eastern Hermans in here, and the Eastern Hermans go all the way down that way into there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pens of Eastern Herman sources. Now this log is hollow all the way through. I'm not going to try and flip it over or do anything, but I'm just going to take a peek. I think, look at this, we have a food dish. We have a food dish that is in the log here. They must have, I guess, just drug it in. I see about 5 or 6 turtles under there in that log. A lot of them are in the water. A lot of them are burrowed under leaf litter, and some of them are starting to come out as the sun's coming up just to get some more sun. There's a nice, beautiful turtle. This is a nice female. Absolutely stunning, very healthy turtle. Got some good weight to it. I try not to hold the turtles for that long, just because obviously when you do that, you're putting a little bit of stress on the animal when you hold them just a tiny, tiny bit. They're used to it. They can feel everything. You touch their shell, you'd be surprised. They can actually feel that. Now, the shell's made up of keratin, which is basically the same stuff on your fingernails. So they can feel that when you pick them up. This is, so that pen's got nothing. These are 3-toed box turtles. Now, a lot of them are MIA. Most of them are all burrowed, but there are a few of them that have popped out. Here's a little guy, and that's a male on the right and a female on the left. And there's some of them that are going in and out of the greenhouse, but they have no problem. They'll just loose go right here. Look at this. Look at this. This is one right here, completely down. It's kind of funny how I just went right to one spot and there was one. Completely down, ready to brumate for the winter. It's gonna be in that spot and probably not move. The reason why I know that is because of how far down it is. But I'm just gonna cover it back up. So when you're walking in these enclosures, you have to be really careful. I try and stick to the outskirts and have like one main area that I stay, just to avoid having to accidentally step on them. Florida box turtles, a lot of people don't realize. In Florida, obviously you have the native species. Let me see if I can find one. I see one right here. And a lot of people think because they come from Florida that they don't like the cold weather. And it is true, they don't really like the cold weather, but they can survive in it no problem. And this one here is an adult male. It's got some shell damage. I have no idea how that happened. I got it like this. I think when it was a baby being raised with other ones, they were nipping at the front. Sometimes males do that too. They typically do that to females, but sometimes they'll fight, and a male will ram or bite the front, especially when they're younger, guys. Their shells are a lot softer, so more susceptible to damage. But this one was underneath that log. Last night temperatures got down to 40 degrees. Once we get to, I'm gonna say another 10 days or so, probably next weekend, I'm going to walk through here, try and find every single one and put them in the greenhouse. And I split them up, males and females. Like I put them, males and females in both, but I put them in there and then I block them in so they can't come out. And that works as a little bit of an insulator, just having them in a greenhouse. Gets a little bit warmer in there, protects them from the elements of really cold, frigid temperatures. And they seem to be doing fine. I've had them out here 10 years now, haven't had any problems. And you know, sometimes we get babies. So I'm hoping, I did see some eggshells in here. I'm hoping at some point they show up. They probably won't now, but in the spring, you might see some roaming around. Hopefully I can get them before they get attacked by any of the adults. So here we got empty pens right now, and Again, some of these pens are used for various species in the warmer months. For some of the tortoises that are outside or inside now, they come outside when it's warmer. But it all depends on what species. So like the yellowfoots, I'll put them somewhere where they can get a little bit more shade. I feel like the yellowfoots prefer more shade, and they come from the rainforest, so they like to be in kind of more of a dark area. They won't really be out in the sun as much. Once that sun gets up, you'll see them go underneath grasses and different plants just to escape that. And it's mind-boggling to me. The redfoots don't mind it at all. The redfoots are out. They like the sun a little bit more. But the redfoots can tolerate the colder temperatures a little bit more than the yellowfoots. The yellowfoots can only go down to about 50 degrees on the low. The redfoots can go down to about 34 degrees on the low. As long as you insulate them a little bit, put them in, a cave of some sort with lots of hay, what you've seen in previous videos. But here we are now. We are in the Gulf Coast box turtle enclosure. So this is kind of like a swamp type atmosphere. It's not deep. Lots of plants, logs, things like that. We got a few of them that are out right here. This is a nice female. Look at the damage that the males will do this female. They will bite the crap out of that turtle while being on top trying to breed, and you can see some of the skin here is a little inflamed from recent breeding, but that'll heal. We're going into brumation. These guys are gonna, some of them go in the water, some of them, most of mine are on land. They've always been brumating on land. I know other people that keep them, like my good friend Chris Leone at Garden State Tortoise. I know he has his go in the water. So we got lots of Gulf Coast box turtles here. We also have a subspecies of European pond turtle known as Emys ubicularis hellenica, the Hellenica Europond turtle, which is a smaller species in the European pond turtle family. You see, this is a full adult male, and it's only maybe 5.5 inches. Actually, it's 5.4369 inches. Yeah, so a lot of them, we got a lot of juveniles in here that are maybe like this big. They're 4 inches. Some of 4 to 5 inches are coming up. They're going to be good breeders for me. There's a male that's coming out. And you can see there's a big hole it came out of. So when it sun's out like that, it'll be out. Yesterday, it was burrowed the whole time. Wouldn't even pop out. Here is the northern diamondback terrapin pond. Now, the diamondback terrapins, I see 0. There are no terrapins. And usually when you don't see any, that's a good sign. This pond is 5 feet deep. So it is cold at the bottom, colder than the surface water, obviously. When you have shallower ponds, you tend to get more activity. The spotted turtles are active more in the year than any other turtle because they prefer the cold, but the depth of the water is not that deep, as well as these guys. This is about 5 feet deep, and there are a bunch of diamondback terrapins in here. I do water changes on this, probably in the wintertime through, get into the spring once a month. And every time I do a water change, just because it's wintertime and they can't bask, I will add a bag of solar salt, 40 pounds, into the water. This pump is running all winter long. Sometimes we get ice, and this will form a cave, but it'll still have a hole in the ice, and it'll still be pumping. So, the diamondback terrapins do great. The only problem is, there's a little bit too much shade here, so I actually have to take the gravid females out in the spring and bring them over to the redfoot enclosure and let them walk around, lay their eggs, and then I bring them back here. There's the suitable habitat here for egg laying. I even tried to make a mound because we all know turtles love to lay eggs on mounds, but that didn't work too well. And that's that. That's the diamondback terrapin pond. Nice, beautiful concentrics and adult northerns down there. Here we're going into, this is a second North American wood turtle enclosure, as I have 2 different groups. And I'm sure some of you have seen plenty of other videos in this enclosure. It's one of my favorites, except for we got a clog up here in the spillway, which is making water spill out of the main stream because all the leaves are backing up, and that pulls water from down in the pond. So if I go down there and I clear that out and all those leaves go down, that water will fill back up down in the pond area. So 2 streams, and it's all river rock, guys. Wood turtles love river streams, river rock streams, as that's where they're found in their native habitat. So I kind of replicated what they have in the wild. This is a really good enclosure because half of the enclosure gets good sun and the other half gets the shade. And we all know that in the summertime, when the temperatures are warmer and all the plants are full effect and out, and they are just covering the forest floor, you have a lot of these turtles that come out and they just go and hide under and escape the sun and escape predators. They're more vulnerable when you're dealing with the spring, just because there's less vegetation for them to hide under. Walking around over here, there's a bunch of North American wood turtles out, and I also have Gulf Coast box turtles. But see, those were the panhandles. These are the tan face, which are more Louisiana, I feel like, and going over towards the Texas side. These guys are all nice, beautiful captive bred. No, I just want to point this out. This wood turtle here, this is a baby well, it's not a baby, it's an adult female. This is one that I raised from a baby, but one leech. We got 2 leeches, and she's an egg layer for me. But she was inside for a good period of time, which is why her shell is not completely smooth. Some of the turtles that I keep outside, I get them outside at an earlier age when they're 3 inches. Their shells are nice and smooth and look like they should. But this one was inside for a good portion before I put it out. That guy right there, that is a male, and you can see its eyes are closed, got dirt on it. It just probably came from underneath that log. There's another one. This is a female. So I didn't raise this turtle, but whoever did, you can see the shell is not normal looking, so wasn't really done properly. Could be lighting, could be enclosure, diet, all of them play roles in shell deformation. And here, this guy right here, I'm telling you, this male, we're dealing in January and February. Temperatures are 45, 42, whatever, 42, 45 degrees. Sun's out a little bit. This guy is out, and it's wild. I have no idea. This is the most cold tolerant turtle I have here, and there's nothing stopping him, and he's really cool. I've had him for a long time, and he's a good big breeder. And I would say this is one of my favorite turtles in this enclosure itself. And you got another female there, and there's a bunch of wood turtles probably under there. That tin's probably heating up, which is another thing. I'm gonna have to make sure these leaves are off of there once it gets, we tend to wait for all the leaves to fall before we start really doing anything with making leaf piles and, you know, getting the leaf blower and making sure everything is insulated, just because you do so much work and all the leaves aren't done, then they all fall again. So you just got to go back and do it all over again. But we want to keep this tin free of leaf litter, so it can absorb that sun and get nice and hot. So here we go. We got, you can see the clog here. We got a little, look, we got a turtle with a leech on it. What else is new? This is a nice juvie young female, but I want to show you a cool turtle right here. This is a really cool turtle. I got it as a western pond turtle. This one's got leeches on it too, man. We gotta have to do a full inspection with all the turtles and just look through and make sure we got all the leeches off. But this turtle right here was sold to me years back as a western pond turtle. And I'm likely to believe it's a hybrid between a North American wood turtle and a western pond turtle. You can see how cool the legs are in there. But it's got that look, that wood turtle look, the concave plastron here. And everything about it is screaming wood turtle, western pond hybrid. I'm not 100% sure, but it was sold to me as a western pond turtle. years back. But another favorite in this enclosure, I've had him for many years. Let's see if we can free this up a little bit more. It'll just get clogged again in a little while, but at least for now, it'll get some of that water down into the pond. Bring that water level back up. I'm not worried about it. I would be worried about it if it was January, just because the ice, or even December, because the ice. If this gets too high and that gets too low, the depth of the ice could go all the way to the bottom. It's only about 24 inches deep, maybe 26 inches deep, more in the center. So if that's shallower, the water's shallower and it's only, 16 inches deep, it's more dangerous to the turtles. So we got to make sure that we keep a healthy depth for them to stay in the wintertime. We have here, this gets a little high, so we just keep that. Once we get it all, like again, when all the leaves fall, it's not a problem. We do it once, clean it all out, and we got no problem. Sometimes the leaves, you get a storm or a lot of wind and it'll blow leaves more back in here, so that's why we walk the enclosure every day, but that's minimal work. Walking around over here, guys, so more North American wood turtles, more Gulf Coast box turtles, and this is another pond with various species, all captive bred animals. Chinese golden threads. Look, here's a Chinese golden thread right here. This is a young one. This one is about 3.5 inches. So when they're about this size, I will put them outside. But I'm glad I found this one because it seems a little bit on the lighter side. It seems healthy, but it just looks like it could have more weight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hang on to this one. I'm gonna bring it inside. It's small anyway, so bring it inside for the winter, let it get fat, and then put it back out in the spring. Sometimes that happens. You got to walk around and inspect your turtles. You got to walk the property every day. Here we got a caramel red-eared slider. I'm going to leave that guy alone. You can see it's getting a nice suntan there with the legs all extended out, getting every bit of sun, drying out the skin. But there's Western painted turtles, Chinese golden threads, caramel red ears, and razorback musk turtles. There might be some pearl rivers. I think there's pearl rivers in here. Maybe black knobs, I think, naps. Yeah, so there's about 5 or 6 species in this pond. And this pond over here, whoa, look at this guy. Big female Chinese Reeves turtle. And then I have some European pond turtles. These are Emmys ubicularis. So these turtles, I raised these, and they're only maybe 3 years old. So you can see how fast they grow. This is going to be their second winter, I believe, out here. And this one, believe it or not, is capable of laying like maybe 4 to 6 eggs. And as they get bigger, they'll carry more eggs. Some of the big jumbo females in here will lay 16, 17 eggs. And there are a lot of European pond turtles in here, and there are a bunch of Chinese Reeves turtles. So this is a nice adult female with a leech on it. What else is new? So you can see, guys, I have the aerators going. I have the pumps going in the waterfalls. This is a pond. These ponds are actually going to get drained tomorrow, and not necessarily cleaned out, but just clean the pumps. We just clean the pumps. We like to keep the leaves and the pine needles and stuff at the bottom through the winter, and then in the spring when we do that drainage, well, we do them all winter long, but when we do one in maybe late March, early April, we'll start to take all the leaves out of there just to keep them from really decomposing along the bottom. Ends up creating more mud. So we got nothing in here. This was like more of a pen for the summer for tortoises. We have there's Eastern painted turtles in here, some alligator snappers. This is one of my favorite ponds. There's a painted turtle right over here. This is a male. This is at a young age. This one had another one nip its tail. But the eastern painted turtle is a very underrated species. They are very beautiful, but they're common, so people don't really value them and pay much attention to them. But I think they're beautiful. One of the most colorful turtles in North America. So there's a nice group of eastern painteds in here. There's some alligator snappers, and also a small species, a smaller locale, the eastern mud turtles. I have eastern mud turtles over there with the Gulf Coast box turtle, but I think the ones that are in here were from like Mississippi, I believe. I forget exactly the locale on them. I'm gonna have to see if I can find that out. We have the spotted turtle enclosure, which you guys have seen my book, North America's Best, the Clemmies Guttata, the spotted turtle. Could be America's favorite turtle because it stays small and it's pretty. It's got yellow spots. All of you turtle enthusiasts know all about them. But I'll come over here and show you. We got a bunch that are basking over here on the side of the pond on the log. There's one right there. Now, believe it or not, I always give the option to all my turtles to be able to brumate in the water or on land. The reason why is just because they have different preferences, and we have ones in the winter that want to come out of the water because they have leeches, and it's impossible to control the leech problem here. No matter what we've done, what we tried, there's so many different methods. In fact, if you guys have a different method, let me know. We've tried green sunfish. We put mosquito fish, all kinds of fish in various ponds. We have done the old coffee can trick with chicken, and we've tried to set like leech traps. It's impossible. There's no way you can even keep up with it. And the only thing we can do is try and reduce the leaves that are on the bottom, because that's where the leeches like to go. So we try and clean them out in the spring. So the ones that are in there now are just ones that have fallen recently. But like in this corner here, we got some leaves. Now, I'm gonna start loosening up this soil so they can burrow a little bit. Look, here's one right here. And this one is a young male, but it's choosing to be underneath the leaves. Now, if you look over here, we got one that may be already hunkered down for the entire winter because it's down in there. Let's see if we can get close up here and see this one turtle. Look at this one turtle right there. You can see the shell, okay? But it's under the dirt. So if I take the leaves and put them back the way they were, I would almost bet money that turtle's gonna be there all winter long and not come out. So that one's pretty much ready to rock. Some of these other ones are getting some last minute sun, which is kind of surprising to me because spotted turtles love the cold weather. They love the cold temperatures. They'll eat in the end of February. I know I've come out here plenty of times, third week of February, February 20th, which there could still be snow out on the ground in various places. And I'll see a little bit of movement, and I'll cut up night crawlers or some turkey bacon or various pellets sometimes, and they'll tend to go for the meats, not as much as the pellets that early in the year. But it's mind-boggling to me how these turtles are eating the third week of February when we're still in a good part of winter. But here we got a young North American wood turtle. Check this out. This is one. So I've said in previous videos that once the turtles get to this size, after the first year and a half, roughly inside, this one was put out here this summer. So this is about a year and a half old. Well, going on probably 2 years now. It was a year and a half in the spring, 2 years now because they typically hatch in the fall. But it's good size. It's over 5 inches now, about 5 inches. 4.8973 inches exactly. So this turtle is gonna be here for a little while. Probably another, I'm gonna say, year. And here is one of the coolest turtles you'll ever see. This is double stuff. Now, have you ever seen a turtle like this? This turtle is like 10 years old, guys. Is that unreal? It's not growing. It's like a dwarf. And we call it double stuff because of how high and how thick this shell is. But I think it's just wild. This guy's got its eyes closed. It's a male. It's an adult male. This one could breed. This one could breed. It's like 2 inches. It's insane. maybe 2.2369 inches. That's what it is. So I'm gonna put it right here in the sun. Okay, let that get some sun. Oh, we got an ornate box turtle that decided to move in. Here's another young wood turtle. And that one is probably the same year as that, I believe. But we've got an ornate wood turtle that's in here. My guess is it climbed this log. Yep. Here's another wood turtle. Got some spottage over here too. But this guy was, man, you were burrowed under there. Nice, fat, healthy turtle. Adult female. I'm gonna put you back into your, this is your enclosure, not this one. Could have probably walked across there. It's still a tight walk there. I don't know. This one looks like it wants to be more sun. Too much shade. When I see turtles out basking and they're kind of in the shade, I'll put them in the sun because that's really where they want to be. But sometimes they just get tired and fall asleep and they forget to move, go out into the sun and get that vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important. That's why I always stress, put your turtles outside. Tortoises, whatever you have. If you have animals, put them outside as much as possible. They want that natural sunlight. Even if it's a lizard, a snake, whatever. I don't think animals should be inside for the entire year. Obviously, you have no choice with certain species, but I try and put as much out here as I can. Some of them are not out here at any point during the year, but I'm working on doing that. We have the northern red-belly pond over here. Sodomys ruberventris, the northern red-bellied cooter. They're black, they're about this big, red belly. Those guys are down sleeping for the winter. I actually haven't seen one in like a week. So I think they're done. This will still get drained. That pump will get cleaned probably this week, just to make sure it's easier to clean them, the pumps when it's warmer outside. We will try and avoid that. And just when we get into the colder months like December, January, February, where we're just draining and refilling, keeps it easier on us. But yeah, that's this side of the property. Now we're gonna walk over here. So over here we have eastern box turtles. We have eastern box turtles over here. More, and obviously the Herman's tortoises, Chinese yellow pond turtles, southern painted turtles, and of course albino red ears, Kwangtongs, Phryinopsillarii, the Argentine side neck, which they can also stay outside here, which most people don't realize in the wintertime. Here we go. So I don't know if we're gonna see, we should see a few easterns out. A lot of them are hunkered down, but we should see a few out just because the sun's up. This is a nice young juvie. You can see that this is only a few years old. Good growth on it. I think that one came outside last year. This one's pretty neat. Look how nice that shell is. But look at the eyes. The eyes are wild on this box turtle. I just have to point that out. I don't know if I've seen any other box turtles with eyes like that. They're almost like silverish gray. I can't even describe that color, but that is very unique and very cool to have a turtle with those eyes. And here we got a nice male. Look, see, this is more the area where they like to brumate down. You can see it's loose here, right? It's all from previous years. Basically a area that we dump all the leaves from the yard. We do leaf blowing in the front and the back. We put everything in big barrels and we just carry them out and dump them. And we just always fill this whole line up along this wall here because the sun hits here the most, and so obviously it'll keep them a little bit warmer, but they like to congregate on this side of the pen for some reason. So that's why I just decided to choose this. And my guess is the sun. But it's all through here. You just gotta be careful where you're stepping. Some of them just came out of the ground just to grab some sun, and their eyes are not all open. Some of them are still kind of sealed shut a little bit because they're waking up. You see there's a bunch here. This one's got a really cool head. If you can get a close-up of that one's got a pretty cool, unique head. Most of my males in here are pretty beautiful. They got some nice coloration. So, walking through here, you see this enclosure for eastern box turtles is enormous. I know some of you see my other videos. I think it's called When It Rains, It Pours, eastern box turtles or whatever it is. And there's a lot of, this habitat in here is perfect for them. There's a lot of square footage. I got a nice little pond over there, which I have a valve. I turn it, let it flush out, let it run, and do a water change. I typically do that. I let it run for like an hour every single day to make sure they're getting fresh water. We got other stations of water bowls that are placed over here just in case a turtle doesn't end up going that way. Trying to give them, the opportunity to stay hydrated in those warm summer months. We'll also add a sprinkler that goes and hits this whole side of the enclosure. But yeah, they'll either brumate on this side, this strip, or back there underneath the laurel bush and underneath the leaves and logs. You don't really see much out here for some reason. I don't know, but I think it's just because the ground might not be as soft as it is on these other sides. But check this out, guys. This is another, this is a pen here that I was using this pen to raise juveniles, but I don't have any in there right now. What I think I might do is I might actually do another one of these. So this is a northern pine snake enclosure, and you guys have seen the previous videos. They brumate in that all winter long. I add leaves to that, and then if it really gets really cold, I might even take a piece of clear plastic and just lay it across the top of that. But that's only happened one time. But I might put another one of these over here. Maybe do like eastern hognose snakes, buy some cool colored babies, and raise them up and start a group of those. But keeping them outside is a lot less work for me. So that's more ideal. If I can keep it outside, I'm more likely to get it, I guess. So, all right, these are eastern Herman's tortoises. We got one out right here. Now the eastern Herman's tortoises get larger than the Dalmatian Hermans. And some of them are very high yellow in this pen. I kind of separated them that way. The high colored ones I put on this side. See what happens. And so this is the southern painteds. We got Japanese Reeves turtles, which my good friend Anthony Pirloni had given me. They were temp sex. I think there's 3 males, 7 females, whatever. There's some Japanese Reeves, southern painteds, and Chinese yellow ponds. All in the water. I do have a good land base here, so it's definitely open to adding a terrestrial type turtle, maybe even putting something like Asian box turtles out here in the summer. But the problem is I don't want to put anything captive bred with something that was imported. So some of the Asian box turtles I have, most of them are imported years ago, even though they're established in captivity, but I still try and want to prevent that from happening. I don't really like to do that. I like to keep all captive breds together. Over here, we have albino red-eared sliders. There's a nice, look at this beautiful male right there on the log. And we got the Kwangtung river turtle. There's one over there. And there's one over there up on the rock. Now, they are typically in the summer and spring more nocturnal. They are out at night more so than they are during the day, which is strange to me. Now they're trying to come out during the day because they want to bask and they want to dry their skin off before they go into the winter, just to prevent fungus. I saw a couple with some white skin. They're probably the ones that are out basking. I'll also add a little bit of salt. You do a water change, I'm not going to add a full 40-pound bag like I do with the Diamondback Terrapins, but I could add maybe a quarter of a bag just to help condition their skin, because salt conditions your skin. And by doing that, they don't stress out as much, and they don't have to worry about trying to bask in the middle of December, January, February, which I have seen turtles basking during those months. So you can see there's a little bit of a water depth issue here on this one as well, because over in that waterfall, which I got to get to, it's spilling out over underneath that rock and leaking. So over time, even though it's leaking just a little bit, over time it drains down. We're about 10 inches. Now, no, I'd say 6 to 7 inches down. We're gonna come up. All right, so over here, this is where I have the leopard tortoises in the warmer months. Nothing in there right now, but they get a fair amount of sun. Over here, this is where I keep some Libyan Greek tortoises and Ibero Greek tortoises, Ibers. Here's one right here, check this out. So we're dealing with the sunny part of the day, and that's when the tortoises are gonna come out. Even in November, even in probably early December, they love the sun. Now, some of them are not going to have that ability because they're going to be blocked inside the greenhouse, not able to come out. Here we have, these are Armenian Greek tortoises, which they're all in the greenhouse. We got, they're all just chilling right there, loving the warmth. Now, they can still come out if they want to, right? But they don't usually come out. I've only seen a couple out, and it's really, they really know where they are. They're really smart, because I've seen a few of them out, and then I come back later in the day and they're back in there. So they kind of have an idea that that's where they need to be. Marginated tortoises. Then we got Russians. All the Russians are pretty much hunkered down. They go down, they seem to go down early. And they're mostly in the greenhouse, and some of them are 8 to 10 inches down, which is crazy. They do tunnel very far. There's more Armenian Greek tortoises. They're staying outside, as well as the other group. There's 2 different groups there. I also have the Golden Greeks. I have 4 different pens of Golden Greeks. We have some from Lebanon and some from Syria, so we have them kind of separated, and they were separated based on shipments, so I tried to put the shipments together. Over here, I'm actually in the process of a new project, and this project is going to be for raising young juvie tortoises like Ibras or maybe Russians, marginateds, just to put them outside and keep them outside. I might even put some Eastern box turtles in there and North American wood turtles and just leave them here, because having them outside, it would be more ideal. You've seen my mini greenhouse on a previous video. Over here, I have another group of Russian tortoises, but they're all hunkered down. And these 3 pens are empty right now, but they're usually good for tortoises. I have a Texas tortoise inside, which he'll go in one of these in the summer. So that's pretty much it for what's outside through the winter. Hopefully we'll be able to add, and hopefully we'll be able to not just add different species that can stay outside, but also to our groups. More females, the better. Trying to make sure that every colony here stays strong and produces a lot of babies. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the winter. And then obviously there's a lot of species. There's probably got to be 15 to 20 different species inside I'm going to be bringing out once we get to spring. So with all that being said, that's it. That's it for me. Hope you guys liked the video. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.